Is Ron DeSantis dropping out before he ever really got in?
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth.
Pastor Marty here with the Afternoon Drive. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel. Even if you subscribed a while ago, you need to check because every once in a while, YouTube thinks they're helping me out by unsubscribing people. So check your subscription. Make sure you smack the bell, click the word all to get notification of my daily rants. Ron DeSantis has been considered one of the front runners to challenge Donald Trump for the Republican nomination to be president in 2024. But he's never really officially announced. Now, we're told that this announcement is going to come sometime in May. He wrote a book, which is something all these guys do. He's been on the national book tour. He is the guy that is seen that can take on Trump with the fact that he's got the Trump-like policies without the, quote, Trump baggage, the Trump drama. Here's the problem. Trump is really surging in the polls, and DeSantis is dropping like a rock. Bum, ba-dum, bum.
How dare you?
So why is that happening? Well, that's really simple. It's what I told you about from the very beginning. Ron DeSantis, though I like what he's done for Florida, he is a deep state pick. He is being propped up by the never-Trumpers, the people who don't like Donald Trump. He is being propped up by the big money donors, but they're having serious thoughts as to whether he's got what it takes to take on Donald Trump. Apparently, about 18 of the big mega donors that support Ron DeSantis met. Now, this is according to NBC News, not really what you would call a Trump-leaning media outlet. But they are talking about openly now that there are supporters who are second-guessing that DeSantis just is not in a position to take on Donald Trump, that Donald Trump is just hammering him. DeSantis is trying to do a little pushback, and he finally got his first quote-unquote real shot in, and I mean faux pas news, because Rupert Murdoch is all in on Ron DeSantis. Faux pas news, just lost it and went euphoric over the fact that Ron DeSantis said something about, hey, President Trump, you're the one that pushed the Fauci ouchie. In other words, going to try to tie Donald Trump to the vaccine. Well, here's the issue with that. Number one, Donald Trump, like a lot of Republicans at the time believed, the only way we were ever going to get the lockdown to end and get people back to normal living, back indoors, back in restaurants, back in movie theaters, back in sports arenas, was to give them that sense of safety and protection that a vaccine was available. That was the idea, and that was what everybody got caught up in at the time. We have since learned other things, and I'm not going to get into all that because every time I do, I get punished by YouTube for talking about it. There are others on here that are talking about it. They don't get punished. Watch their content, i.e. Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore's got the best stuff about Love Potion number 9 and what the issues are with it. Watch Jimmy Dore, and you'll learn all that you need to know on that particular issue. But what Ron DeSantis does not do, he fails to acknowledge that in the very beginning of the pandemic mania, he was doing everything that he could to lock his state down just as fast and just as quick as New York and California. He had mandates in place of his own. Now, when he finally, because his political operatives around him said, this is not the strategy going forward. You want to be seen as the governor that sets people free, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They brought him to the right. He opened the state. That does not mean that all the municipalities followed his orders. He didn't talk about that. Even though he supposedly signed a bill that would make it illegal for anyone in Florida to lose their job if they didn't get the jab, lots of people did lose their job and they never got them back, and he hadn't done a thing to give their jobs back, i.e. the fireman of Orlando. And I know a fireman in Orlando who had to resign his job because he refused to get the Fauci ouchie, and Team DeSantis did nothing to save his job, and he was a chief. You really want to go down this road, Ronnie? Yeah, I didn't think so. You're a lightweight. You are part of controlled opposition. They have let you score some wins on purpose in Florida to prop you up as the Trojan horse representing MAGA, and you're not. Thank you for being the puppet that kept Florida open. But in reality, that's not you. That's not who you are. And the donor class got real nervous when Tucker Carlson asked the question, where do the candidates stand on Ukraine? We've already covered this. And Ron DeSantis was, this is a territorial issue between Russia and Ukraine, and we need to stay out of it, and we don't need to be fostering this into war. Well, this immediately didn't set well with the donor class because they're all in because they're all part of the military-industrial complex. It's how they make their money. And so then Ron DeSantis went on Piers Morgan and said that Putin is a warlord and he needs to be dealt with and he needs to be taken down. Wait, what? A total 180 because he got pressure from the donor class. This tells you all you need to know about Ron DeSantis. Donald Trump. There are certain things he's going to do that, quote, benefit the donor class. He's a tax cut guy. That's just who he is. But on things that Donald Trump truly believes, he doesn't give a flip what the donor class thinks. He just tells you what he thinks, and he sticks to it. And so when Donald Trump tells you he is totally against this war in Ukraine and would immediately make the two sides come together and within 24 hours have a peace agreement and a ceasefire, you can take it to the bank. Ron DeSantis says it to get your vote because she's your typical lying, pandering fraud. And he's already revealed himself. And he is dropping in the rocks. At the same time, he's on a book tour going to all the spots where he can make his case and wow people. Donald Trump's under indictment. Trump is climbing in the polls. DeSantis is tanking. Is he dropping out? Is he dropping out because he can't take it? Is he dropping out because the donor class is saying, you know what? The indictments, I hope you guys hear me on this. They play to Trump's strength. Trump has said from the beginning that the left and the political elite are on a witch hunt to get him. And so every time there's an indictment or a threat of an indictment, and more indictments are still coming, supposedly, it only bolsters his claim and it makes him even more of a ultra MAGA. And the party, the people within the party, his support, they love that. Ron DeSantis waited several days to make comment, and when he did, he tried to, like he did with Ukraine, have it both ways. He said he thought the case was weak and the DA was making this political, but he had no personal experience with, paying hush money to porn stars. See, that was a backhand to Donald Trump. It makes him Ron DeSanctimonious. This holier-than-thou who's full of it. How do I know he's full of it? He was a JAG attorney. He has gotten our military officers out of hot water and hotbeds in Muslim countries around the planet. It's what he did. Our officers going into other countries, raping women, violating their laws, basically pissing on sovereign nations' constitutions and laws. And it was Ronnie's job to get him out of trouble. It was Ronnie's job to cover up the waterboarding and torture that took place at Gitmo. But he's going to lecture President Trump on morality? Well, let's see. Donald Trump says he never had an affair with Stormy Daniels, and even if he did, that's between him and her and his wife and how she feels about it. And I'm not advocating or endorsing or turning a blind eye to quote unquote biblical immorality. But there's immorality and there's immorality. And a man and a woman hooking up has been going on since the dawn of time. But men who profit off the deaths of other men under the guise of defending democracy in Ukraine so that the billionaire class can get even wealthier, that's a whole new level of immoral and vile and reprehensible. People having sex, that happens. That's part of life. Torture and getting off the people who torture, and all of your backroom deals and all of your restricting of rights and making money off of it and screwing workers, that's immoral. And that's the kind of immorality Ron DeSantis comes from. So while he's tanking in the polls and Trump is really just opening up a huge margin over him, like a 30-point spread now, it's got the donor class rethinking, Ron DeSantis. And even if he goes up head-to-head, by the time Trump is done dismantling him, even if he were to pull out the nomination by the hair of his chinny chin chin, what will be left of him to run? Bump and up bump. And certainly Trump will take no quarter with him. There'll be no mercy given. So Trump will hit him with everything. And even if DeSantis were to pull off the nomination, all that's going to do is embolden the Democrats because Trump will have done all the opposition research for them, and then they will just bring the pile on. Ron, take the advice I gave you months ago. Walk away. Ride the high life of all that you've done for the Sunshine State. Be seen as the strongest red governor, even though we know you didn't do it by conviction, you did it by convenience. But take that win and sit it out till 2028. Because 2024 belongs to Donald Trump. Period.